Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is another episode of Teague's Take coming to you live from the TAPS convention in Waco, Texas, where a lot of athletic directors, coaches, other personnel are here to get our learn on as we do. It's always good to be able to rejuvenate, see old friends, and just, put a good community together and talk about experiences and how to get better. So I'm thankful for this time to have the coaches marathon or administrators marathon at TAPSCon today. This is our 2:15 session where we have three more to go, but I'm very excited to have this young lady with me today. I did have the opportunity to meet her last year. She is taken over as one of the athletic directors at the Regents School in Austin. She has a lot of great experiences in public schools. She's been a teacher, she's been a coach, she's been a director, AD of the district. She's coached volleyball and
Basketball, cross
basketball, cross
country.
country. I mean, it's just a lot of experiences that um, I think add to a lot. So, Miss Sheila Henderson is here with us today. Yes, and we're very, very excited about that. So, off air, just a little while ago, I was talking to her about I've never had the opportunity. I shouldn't say that. That's not right. I have never coached or worked in public school. And at the school that I'm at, John Paul II High School in Plano, Texas, we do have a lot of faculty members that come from uh, public school, whether it's just coach or as a teacher or even other administrative positions. So she's had that where she's had a lot of experiences. I was talking about it, but she's been at Marlin ISD. Make sure I get these right, right? Austin ISD. I got Judson ISD, Lockhart. Or any other ISDs
I,
I mean?
I think that's enough.
Right. So it's cool because we always look up and try to figure out how do we become the best, even in TAPS. So to have you with us in our organization means a lot to us, right? So first, can you? What made you want to come this direction to come into the private school arena?
Well, I don't know. At first, it was my first thought. I just said, God, when I left public school, I wanted to serve you. So if I go back to any educational institution, I wanted to be somewhere it married my love for sports and my love for Christ.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I could find that, then I'm like, okay, God, then this opportunity presented itself. Wasn't looking for it, but I said, okay, God, you got jokes. You gave me something. I thought I was going to stay at home, work with my husband. But this opportunity came up and such great people that I met and originally that I met. And then again, my faith is so important to me. And being able to have an opportunity to disciple young people,
Hmm.
I was like, I couldn't do that openly in public school.
Yes.
And to give me a platform that I can show my faith and then be able to walk kids through their faith and especially athletes through their faith as they participate in athletics, then I said, you know what, I'm all in.
Yes. And you know what? That's be. I shouldn't say hard. Different, right? So I'll give you all a similar situation because there are some of our schools within TAPS who have different faiths, or maybe not even faith based. Shelton School was one of the ones that I was at before I came to JP2. It was not faith based at all. So for me, only being in private school, then going to this one still in TAPS and not being able to necessarily pray with everybody because there were some that I got scolded on a little bit and had some parents kind of approach me like, "Hey, why are you praying with my kid?" That kind of thing. It was a eye opener and it really tested my faith. I think because I think God was challenging me to be able to say, well, how are you going to handle this? And are you going to push me aside? Or are you going to work through this? So thank you for sharing that. Now I know that could be a big difference between private school and public school. But what are other transitions do maybe an employee need to think about if they are coming out of public school coming to a private school that maybe they just need to be aware of?
I think depending on what position they come into, let's just say from a financial standpoint, when you
The
think about,
money,
let's say the money, the
the
money, the money.
money.
The money does not look the same, but it's not so much importantly the money, it's retirement
Mm.
and what type of retirement systems you are, and do they talk to each other? What do they look like? Do you leave your money in public school and let it sit there and let it mature to retirement age? So you do have some of those to have to deal with. Also, coming from a public school to a private school, you don't all have positions. So some of the positions are volunteer, they're not a full-time position. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges coming from public school to private school for me, is because in public school we had athletic periods and all my coaches were on campus. So if I needed a early morning meeting with all my coaches, or if I needed a lunch meeting or an after school meeting, or had to call something because something sensitive happened and we need to immediately call them together, um, we could do that. Going to public school, you don't have those. And so, I mean, private school. And so those coaches that are thinking about going there, there's not as many full-time positions for them to come, i.e. we have about 11 full-time coaches on our campus, and we have about 98 coaches with all of the offerings that we have. So about 88% of our coaches are not on campus, which presents a whole nother challenge within itself, being able to do. I think also what coaches may see, you have transportation looks a little different because every school doesn't have buses. I'm used to buses and CDL drivers and never have to really worry about transportation, maybe getting it there on time, but never really kind of have to worry about how do we get all our kids. And so you use more carpools and smaller activity type buses, or if you don't have buses, you're doing carpools or more charter buses or rentals or things like that, which I was not accustomed to as much because we did have buses to be able to get our kids to school
Yeah, now
or to events.
yeah, don't tell me about that. It's even different by, as I'm saying, like how our busing situation is, because we're diocesan. We all have different rules on what's that. There's probably a little bit more consistency when you're working in an ISD, I would imagine. But you mentioned something about the retirement piece. What's the name of the
Teacher retirement system.
yeah,
Mhm.
TRS? Okay, because I hear that because that's a lot of negotiations I've had to have, or at least talking. Okay, what do I do with my money and how to do it? Because we're dealing with at JP2 403B, where there is something, and you got to try to educate that new employee um, about that. So I guess I want to go in a little bit further about what you were saying about the stipend coaches and how, or what do you guys do to necessarily try to help your stipend only coaches? They're working another job. How do you get them to buy into the culture and get a feel for what your school is really about?
Brainwashing. No, not really. Um,
Yeah.
so first it's really questions. Do they really love Christ? Do they love kids? The skill set. So you buy them on the Jesus thing, right?
Yes.
So do they really love kids and have a passion for what they do? And so that buy-in, and you get them in, and we have a lot of coaches that do, because we have many that don't get paid and head coaches that don't get paid. We have a head football coach that doesn't get paid because of just his passion for kids and his love of Christ. But so you get them in, and then trying to be able to provide a good experience of support for them, as well as providing that. And then there's other things that they can have, little mini camps or summer camps and things like that that could help supplement, some of those things. We now, as a school, have a co-curricular sustainable task force to look at this area. Is because when you're looking at sustainability going long term, how do you sustain excellence when you can have a revolving door, especially of your head coaches? And so if you want to maintain that level of excellence, then we've got to have some consistency at the head coach level who runs your programming from 7 through 12. So we're prayerful and hopeful that as we do this study for the next year with the task force, that we will come up with some recommendations that maybe hopefully can have some sustainability in terms of our head coaches, and then hopefully a trickle down effect to the rest of the coaches.
Yeah, so I would say that Regents is very well known for academics and faith-based, but also having very competitive teams, across the board as well. So why don't you at least tell us a little bit more about Regents and the school? Because you're in an area, a hotbed of where people may be moving into often, right? So we have a lot of people that listen to Teaks Take that are in Alabama, Georgia, California, overseas, obviously in Texas. But if they're around there and they're looking for a school, what do they need to know about Regents?
I mean, first of all, it being a well balanced school, overall. And I will say, I'm going to brag on us for a minute because in the first time in the school's history, we have won the Henderson Cup,
Yes.
which is meaning they're the best overall school in the 5A division.
I didn't want to say it, but that is a huge deal. So I'm glad that you.
I'm going to bring it up.
Yes.
Because it is a huge deal for us. And that means we're well balanced in terms of fine arts, academics, and athletics. And that we've got to be doing some things right to be able to do that. And if people are looking for a faith-based school that is consistent in wanting to disciple young people in all areas, then Regents, I think we do it pretty well. But I will tell people, it's just like you go to church, everybody not saved. So don't come that we're perfect. Don't look for perfection because none of us are perfect until the day of Jesus Christ. So we're not perfect. But seeking excellence in the things that we do as we get better each year and refining those. And we have surveys and parent forums and different things that we do to hopefully continue to refine the processes. And then again, it goes back to finding individuals that can teach in all of those three areas that I talked about: academics, fine arts, and athletics. And some of our coaches are in our academic areas and do teach, and they do a great job. And so being able to find those individuals that fit within that culture of, first, do you love God? Do you love Jesus? And not just saying it, but walking the walk and talking the talk. Like, you got to walk it, not just talking, you got to walk it out, and finding those individuals. And then again, when things are difficult or hard, coming together as a group, a great community of parents and individuals within that community that support and are there and is really the lifeline of the schools, and having a great community support. And we do. And then having a great staff. And when you have a great staff led by our head of school, Dr. Dan Peterson, and led by him, and, from the top down, people think it's from the bottom up, but it doesn't work until the top. And you have to have somebody at the top that has a vision for the school, and that has a vision. And when they have that vision and get buy-in from everybody else, then everything else starts to work, because we don't work until we align with God, and he's the head, he's the beginning. Right. And if we don't align and have that alignment, then you're not going to have things that work. So when you do have hard things and challenges, and we do, then you can walk through those things.
Do you guys have any special, I shouldn't say, or like restrictions, do something different? So I'll give you an example of what I'm trying to get at. So like I know Prestonwood Christian Academy up by us, who we play a lot. There are a lot of things that they're specifically doing to pronounce their faith. Hey, we know we're not going to play them because it is this week. They're all going on the school retreat, and that's kind of, which is cool, right? I'm saying it that way, but we know it's like us in Catholic faith. There are certain things we can't do because of when they have mass and when we're doing things. So what about your school?
No, we have things that the kids do. There are trips that they take at certain times. Our senior kids, because of the academia that they do, and to put it into real life and see it, they go to Europe for 2 weeks. Oh, cool. And it impacts our baseball season and impacts some things that they do. Our seniors go to DC before the school year starts, and then ministerium, community service. So all of our grades at certain times during the year go for a week and go do service. So there's different things throughout the year that the school does, and that the ongoing mission of the school, those kids participate in those activities. And there are various times, and there are things that they do that help grow the kids. But I will tell you, like, the mission of the school, and I want to get it right. Regents is a classical K through 12 school, Christian school with over 1,000 students on 82 acres in Southwest Austin. But it equips students for life, college, and beyond, using time-tested tools of classical model taught through the lens of Christian worldview. Our students are surrounded by a supportive community with talented, caring, and godly men and women on our faculty staff, engaged, involved parents. Engaged, involved. very important, because when I was on the public school side, I had some great parents, don't get me wrong,
Yep.
but the consistency of engaged and involved is so important, as they walk along this walk. Because I would tell sometimes people in public schools, sometimes there are private schools that get it right in terms of involvement, engagement. And I'm like, treat your public school like what you pay in property taxes. You walk alongside your children. It's important. You have a say so in what happens in their education. So much in public schools and parents, we sit back and we're not engaged. I was also an assistant principal and then an interim principal. And as I want parents to come in and things happen to their kids, I'm begging, like, you got to come in. You got to, like, this is what's happening to your kid. Your kid has this many absences and those kinds of things. And that's our responsibility, parents. When I say parents, it's your responsibility to hold the school accountable, to hold teachers accountable, and say, hey, I want to make sure my kid is getting the best possible education there is. And that's what I think sometimes in the public school, we drop the ball because we sit back to let others do it when we should be partnering with them.
Yeah, that's a great word. Let me ask you this, and we have about 2 or 3 minutes left. Okay, and I wanted to ask you about that engaged involvement, and are we as a society sometimes being engaged and involved only in certain aspects? Meaning, I'm thinking athletics. Hey, they're really engaged and involved in this part, but not in the other.
Absolutely. Like, you have to, don't idolize one area. And I think sometimes we overemphasize the athletic aspect of it. My husband made my kids sit down, do their homework before you go outside and do anything. And we always taught our kids the academic aspect is more important than the athletic aspect. That's going to be a byproduct. But if you finish here in the top of your class and you're doing well, there's so much more academic money available. Our son played football for Baylor D1. I ran track, got scholarships
At
academically
Texas,
at Texas, but academic scholarships and that academic money, I told my son, is so much more far greater. So I had him apply to schools outside of football, just applied on the academic end. So many helicopter parents, they're living vicariously through their children because they think they're going to be the next MLB or the next George Teague or the next whatever. And it's okay to have those dreams, but don't put those dreams ahead of and put all your eggs in one basket, and you're neglecting the other area that should have the same emphasis or more emphasis in terms of what you're doing. And that's kind of how you see kind of these parents are sometimes doing these days, is putting the emphasis in the wrong place.
And it's awesome. And I think as administrators and as people, we need to make sure that we help our coaches put the right things in the right places too. So for me, typically I'm saying, sounds like I'm aligned with her as well. Hey, first and foremost, we got to have our spiritual walk and stuff done appropriately, right? And then academics for it. And then at JP2, after that, we're going to worry about how we do athletically and stuff and get in line because we know people are paying to have their kids at our schools. And a lot of times it's because of the faith that they just want some security and some growth there. Always about the academics and then the byproducts of your fine arts and things. And if you can put that all together, guess what you do? You win the Henderson Cup because you're good at a whole lot of stuff. So I think that's great. I look forward to continue working with you and just getting to know you more.
Same here.
You're enlightening. I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to say something about my college before you say yours, So I'm going to go ahead and say roll tide,
Hey,
roll tide,
hey,
roll
hey,
tide.
hey.
Huh?
One of my son's assistant principals in Alabama. Roll Tide. I'm gonna say it for her. Roll Tide, roll, because she loves them.
Yeah,
So that's all right.
because one of my assistant directors, he's giving me the hook 'em, all the time. Particularly since they're in the World Series. What do you call the College World Series softball right now? So
Yes,
I
they're
watched
doing
that
great.
game. Hopefully they
Yeah,
pull one
pull it
out
out.
tonight or today. I don't know what time they actually play today, but anyway.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And I do look forward to building a relationship. Guys, ladies, this has been another great episode of Teague's Take. Thank you guys for tuning in to this. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that like button. If you're interested in a school like Regents, make sure you just go to the website. Find out, look at it, find your place like that. You're going to be around. A lot of you are going to be in Austin anyway, visiting the capital. So just go by there. Tell Sheila I said I don't know. You want a bottle of water or something from her. It'll be good. Thank you guys very much. We're out of here. Peace.
Thank you.